Might be a championship round for V8 Supercars, but they are competing like it. Pit stops are now also a feature of the V8 Supercar races here at the Grand Prix as they set off on the sighting lap. Let's join our commentators, Craig Baird, Jack Perkins and Richard Crail. Boys, we are also going to see some interesting tyre strategy start to unfold. It began yesterday with Will Davison, and a few more will unfold today, no doubt.
Yeah, Rusty, it's been the story of the weekend, and just for something a little bit extra today, we get the fuel equation in too, and as part of the compulsory pit stop that all 28 cars must make, they need to top up the juice during this race as well. Boys, it's been a fascinating story. This is the weather as it stands. It is a perfect day in sunny Melbourne. 22 degrees, minimum of 13 overnight last night. Pretty chilly this morning. Track temperatures about 26, 27 degrees at the moment. So absolutely perfect for conditions for racing, and an hour of Formula One practice to lay some rubber down as well.
It's absolutely ideal conditions. You're dead right there, Richard. It's I must say, though, I'm starting to get a bit confused. They keep changing these formats on us, mate. 1 minute we've got pit stops, next minute fuel stops, tyre stops, but let's take a look through the grid. Pole position race winner from yesterday, Mark Winterbottom, front row alongside him, Van Gisbergen, Will Davison, Garth Tander on the second row, Jamie Whincup. Jamie Whincup, Lee Holdsworth, row 3, Rick Kelly, David Reynolds. Remember, Reynolds got an absolute blinder yesterday, and Todd Kelly, James Courtney rounding out the 10.
Well, Jack, let's go back to basics. There's two compounds of tyre, a soft tyre, which is quicker, and a hard tyre, which is not. You've got to run both in the race. You must also, as of today, put fuel in the car as well. Now, some drivers will start this race on the soft tyre, go hell for leather in the opening couple of laps, whack the hards on for a few laps at the end. The others will run the reverse strategy. So we've got this race within a race, basically, to whenever you make your pit stop.
Yeah, as we cross to Will for an update.
Cheers, mate. I just had a bit of a wander into the FPR pits, and Grant McPherson, Will Davo's mechanic engineer, had a big smile on his face, and asked him what he was smiling about. He said, mate, we've made a few tweaks. We've made the car a little bit faster. Will Davo said, obviously, he was a bit disappointed that he wasn't quick enough despite being in P3. So that's a bit worrying for the boys in front of him, because they made some tweaks, made some time up in the long corners, of which there's a few. And you can see Will Davo's probably going to make a little bit of a charge through the field if Grant's anything to go by.
Will, that's a very nice race suit you're wearing there, my friend.
Thank you very much, mate. We've all got the same ones on. I feel a little bit warm because I've got everything else on underneath, but overall, looking pretty sharp, I think.
It actually looks like you borrowed it off Rusty.
But to get it's a bit too thin in the hips for Rusty, though. He's got a bit of a bulge around here.
He won't like to hear that. Just to give the viewers at home a bit of an update, on the soft tyre, 6 people will start this race. Will Davison is on soft tyres. Rick Kelly is on soft tyres. Fabian Coulthard has a nice little soft tyre bank there, and he starts on softs. Greg Murphy is on softs. Reindler and Russell Ingall is on softs. So majority of the field opting to use the hard tyre first.
So what we'll see here, guys, I think you'll see the hard tyre guys pit early, and the soft tyre guys will try and run a longer duration of this race to gain maximum track time on that faster tyre, probably to the point where it starts to get slower, when you start to lose a little bit too much grip. So it'll be interesting to see what lap the guys deem that those soft tyres run out.
And we've got to remember, it's a 20-lap race. So in V8 Supercar land, this is not a long race. This is just a little sprint race for them, and you would suggest that the soft tyre would be able to last around here for at least 15-odd laps.
Yeah, exactly right, Beto. And one other thing that we touched on in yesterday's race is in the pit stops, the teammates can't pit together, so we won't see stacking for those of you who have watched V8 races in the past where the teammate has to sit behind the other teammate in the pit lane. Only one car from each team allowed in the pit lane on one lap.
Yeah, talked to Craig Lowndes about stacking, and he rolls his eyes. It probably cost him a Bathurst win last year, but the man I want to watch in this race is on the left of screen. Shane Van Gisbergen has been super fast this weekend, but the roll of the dice hasn't quite worked for him so far, but the SP Tools car looks good.
And probably one of the most impressive things with Van Gisbergen at the moment is his speed. 5-second board is his speed on the hard tyre, which he starts on.
So Van Gisbergen and Winterbottom on the front row. It's been a Ford lockout all weekend long. Jamie Whincup was fast in qualifying. He goes from the third
Good
row.
Start from
Great
Van
start.
Gisbergen.
Davison even better. Slots in behind the Kiwi on the run down to turn 1. Tander away nicely in the Holden Racing Team Commodore. But it's Shane Van Gisbergen leads them through. Frosty squeezed out wide.
Yeah, you saw Mark Winterbottom spun the wheels at the start line. The car stepped sideways on him, and he's lost a few spots there on the first two corners.
Holdsworth had a really bad run out of 2 and got ushered out onto the grass. So he's dropped from 6th spot back to about, I would suggest, about 10th or 11th spot.
Oh, round goes Jamie Whincup, spins in the middle of the... And Russell Ingall in the super cheap car there. It's, I think that's the fair dinkum Homes and Sheds car of Carl Reindler. Whincup drives away.
Safety car forwards to the flag.
So the safety car being deployed here. Now, looks like a Holden Racing Team car got into the back of Jamie Whincup, turned him around, and that caused all that mayhem on the exit of turn 3.
Look at the damage. Taz Douglas drove into the side of the 11 car, and that copped a pretty big hit. That is Carl Reindler. David Wall's car was forced off to the side of the road, so Reindler impacted by Taz Douglas in the Team I Select car. Here's another look from above at 3.
And it was. It's number 22, James Courtney. Tried a bit of a, oh, I don't know, Beto, do you reckon the move was on there, or tough one to call?
That's a hard hit too.
Massive damage after that concertina here.
But for a hit like that, to put a 1,350 kilo V8 on its side, so centre of screen, there goes Taz. The Lucas Dumbrell Motorsport car copped a massive hit, and Reindler at the meat and the sandwich, and Jamie Whincup got the initial brunt of that when he was turned around, but was able to select first gear and drive away.
And David Wall's the car that impacted the direct behind of Taz Douglas, and that's got a lot of damage on the front of that Wilson security car.
That disappear off to the right of screen now.
Red flag the race, so understandable. Taz is out of the car, he's okay, but a lot of damage, and this will take some time to clean up. Big cheer from the fans at the racetrack for Taz to climb out. That was a monster impact to tip the car on its side, just with the sheer force of David Wall driving into the side.
It's one of those things, though, we've seen it before, whether, you know, you just ride a wheel up and, you know, it's only a second gear corner, so it's not high impact. No one's going to be hurt. The pride's hurt. Cars are a little damaged, but look, once they peel these things apart, it won't be anything too much. I wouldn't be surprised even if Jamie continues the race. They'll come around, they might chuck a bit of race tape, 100-mile-an-hour tape on the door if it's not shutting properly, but I reckon he'll carry on. These three cars on screen will definitely be out.
Whincup was a long way down, did not get a good start, lost a lot of track position in that opening scramble and was forced right down the pack. So if you're in the midfield, they always say that's where the danger happens, that's where the concertina happens. Everyone bundles in all at once, and it creates all sorts of dramas. There's Carl Reindler, a West Australian, recently moved to Victoria. Now in the fourth car from Kelly Racing, but that's not the way he wanted to start his championship. While we clean up the mess at Albert Park, the field will reset. We'll get this race underway as soon as we can. Stick with us, the Qantas Formula 1 Australian Grand Prix. Welcome back to Albert Park, to an unwelcome sight. The red flag is flying due to a pretty hefty opening lap crash in race 3 of the V8 Supercars this weekend. That is the I-Select car of Taz Douglas, tipped on its side and with 70-odd litres of ethanol sucrage and fuel on the ground because of a ruptured fuel tank. This is what happened at turn 3.
Definitely James Courtney tags the back of Whincup, turns him around. Jamie's got nowhere to go. He's sitting in the middle of the track and bang, 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 that's what happens. But the problem at the moment, you may be sitting at home thinking, why can't they tidy this up? One of the cars, we're not sure which one it is, has got a ruptured fuel tank. So there's a slow fuel leak in there, so they've got to be really careful to obviously pull these cars apart without causing any more damage. Murph gets out of jail free there.
Watch the initial impact here, though. Bang from Carl Reindler, and then that concertina. Everyone funnels into each other, and poor old David Wall probably couldn't even see what was happening in front of him and cannoned into the back of Taz Douglas.
I must say, there's two blokes that got away with that damage-free. Very lucky guys. They were Lowndes and I think it was James Moffat, but Will's got something for us down in the pits.
Mate, there's nothing you can't fix without race tape, and as you can see on Jamie Whincup's car, there's been a fair bit of damage to the panels. The race tape is covering and holding the door in. They've got a tie in there. You can see the race tape as well underneath. They're working frantically down here, but it looks like basically the structure of the car is all right. The panels are damaged, but they seem confident that they can get him back out there before the start of this race.
So under red flag conditions, the cars have all pulled up on the start-finish straight for the most part. Rick Kelly sitting in pit lane, but the teams are allowed to work on their cars, but no refueling. They can't touch the fuel because as part of the regulations for this race, you must execute a pit stop with a tyre change from soft to hard or hard to soft tyres and refuel the car as well.
Look at this damage. I mean, the team owners don't like to see this in a non-championship race. So unfortunately, what started it all was James Courtney there down in turn 3.
Rusty, it's all happened at the start of the V8 Supercars. Hopefully we can get this cleaned up and get back underway soon.
Thank you. Let's join Richard Crail, Jack Perkins and Craig Baird as we get set to go racing once again, boys.
Greg, thanks. Another warm-up lap, and hopefully we can get some form of V8 supercar race in. There's dramas for the Irwin Tools car of Lee Holdsworth. He's finally got that car fired and underway after a massive clean-up at the action zone, the accident zone on the exit of turn 3 and turn 4. A long time under red flag conditions, about 25 minutes of red flag. Drivers need to get their heads back into gear, guys, and get back underway for what's going to be a pretty short race now.
Yeah, look, they'll find the zone pretty quick, but I think the way the rules are, I believe Holdsworth will be allowed to go back to his grid position because he did get it fired and took off before the last car passed him. So he should be able to weave his way back through, but look at the mess of this. It's actually good that they have restarted the race. One of those reasons is the racing, the cars running over that will clean it up, and the Formula 1 guys, the Charlie Whitings, etc., they don't want to see that stuff. Will McCloy?
I've just David Wall, one of the unlucky men from that accident, mate. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, look, just a passenger in that one, unfortunately. Box there and the... got the call on the radio to go right, went as right as I could possibly could at the time, and unfortunately the inside crossed in front of us and got a hit from behind and ended up right in the middle and the brunt of it. So not great for everyone at Brad Jones Racing and Wilson Security. It's disappointing. We're here to learn and not learning much sitting in the garage.
So you won here in Carrera Cup 3 years in a row, but this is your first time in the Supercars. A terrible way to end, but look, AGP, you don't want it here.
No, you don't. No, like, it's an enjoyable event. It's one that we all look forward to, and we made some pretty drastic changes to our car then. We're looking forward to trying. But unfortunately never got to, so the boys will get stuck into it. We'll see if we can get there for tomorrow, and we'll bells on.
Initial thoughts, mate? Do you think it'll be ready for tomorrow?
50-50, I think. Yeah, a lot of damage.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Will. BJR are pretty good at putting cars back together. They've done it twice with Jason Bright's Team BOC car in the last fortnight. Big crash jacket, the Clipsal 500 Adelaide round one of the championship. Beat that car up pretty bad, and then they fixed it overnight. Then they refixed it for this weekend, and then they had to fix it again after Friday.
Yeah, I feel sorry for all the guys at BJR. They've had a lot of, probably a big pile of bent panels there in Albury. They're a small team and they do a good job, but I can sympathise with David Wall there. You know, it's one of those situations, it's a big concertina effect, and you get someone on the radio telling you to go left or right. Sometimes they get their lefts and rights mixed up because they're watching on the TV screen, but look, he did his best to avoid it and unfortunately couldn't. So we've got two cars starting for pit lane. That must be noted. Rick Kelly and Jamie Whincup with a lot of race tape holding the two left-hand side doors on there. So those two will be ones to watch from the rear field.
Just remember, this actually works into Will Davison's hands, really. He's starting on the softs, and with the race being shortened, it's going to go 4:05 plus 1 lap. This is going to play right into his hands, I believe. The advantage that he will gain before he has to pit, I don't think anyone will peg him back.
Quick shot of Campbell Little down there at Ford Performance Racing, I should say. The man behind the scenes with Will Davison and Mark Winterbottom. Will Davison is on the soft tyre. So watch for the trading post car from the second row. Good start from him when we did this the first time around. It seems like a while ago now.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this during the red flag period. It gives those guys who made bad starts a good opportunity to have a crack at another good start. And Mark Winterbottom made an absolute mess of that first one, so he'll be hoping that he can lead them away into the first corner. And same goes for Lee Holdsworth, a couple of rows further back. He made a shocking start. So those two guys have got a bit of reprieve, and there's a couple empty grid spots here as we aim for a restart for this shortened race 2.
Well, let's try this again, shall we? Mark Winterbottom and Shane Van Gisbergen get the 5-second board. Garth Tander and Mark Winterbottom on the second row. Lights are on. And now they're not. We're underway again. And another slow start from Frosty. Not bad from Davison on the second row, but Tander looks racy. The lone Holden amongst a field of Fords at the front of the V8 Supercar pack. But Winterbottom recovers and leads them through.
Big lock-up from Mark Winterbottom into turn 1 as well. Will Davison will be wanting to make hay while the sun's shining. He needs to get past these cars. Don't forget, Shane Van Gisbergen has massive car speed on the hard tyre. But you can see the soft tyre. Davison looking to the outside. Just so much more mid-corner grip and braking grip with the soft tyre. They all get through this time cleanly.
Will's just got to bide his time here now. He's on a better tyre compound than the two guys in front, but he's just got to work his way past. Once he gets into the lead, he'll be able to gap them, and I expect all these guys on hard tyres to pit on this first lap.
Lee Holdsworth under pressure from Fabian Coulthard in the Lockwood Racing Commodore. There he is, and he's just gone past. Will McCloy with more from the lane.
You said that, as I said, Shane Van Gisbergen had speed on the hard tyre. He is the first one to go in. Even though Lee Holdsworth stalled on the grid, it looks like it was his own fault. He'll come in the next lap, it looks like, at this point. But Van Gisbergen will be the first to come in. As you can probably see down here, everyone's ready, and everyone's going to come in straight after the first lap, just like they did yesterday.
Yeah, valid point, Will. Let's not forget, no stacking in this race. So you can't bring two team cars in together. One guy, and it's normally the second car, the second team player on the track, has to do another lap. But in saying that, you could also almost leave Van Gisbergen out because he's in a bit of clear air and he's got great car speed. He's probably the fastest car out there on a hard tyre.
He's moved down the inside. Stephen Johnson on Tony D'Alberto. Tony's had good pace this weekend, got shuffled back through the field in race 1 to 15th, but a career best qualifying for him this weekend. Qualified 8 places better than he'd ever started here before.
Yeah, good effort from Tony D'Alberto. He's running a customer Ford performance car. Look, as the leaders all come into the pits, this will be a great race between all the pit crews.
Van Gisbergen very, very late and found himself about a 1/10 of a second by...
Now, the winner out of that there is Garth Tander because he gains a couple of car lengths because he can't get done by the radar gun. Sneaky little trick, but a good one.
And importantly for Will Davison on the soft tyre, he's free. He's got clear racetrack now to set his own pace. And you'd imagine he's going to run that tyre as long as he can.
The problem
to
is
get an advantage.
going to be trying to release these cars.
Looks like
so many cars in the pit lane.
Van Gisbergen has a slow pit stop there, guys. He's lost about 4 spots there. He's come out behind Todd Kelly, so they've had a bit of a drama there.
See, and you can't release the 888 car. Well, he's been...
Oh, does just and squeezes Michael Caruso, the Fujitsu Racing GRM car, out of the way.
I say you can't release, but they did.
Little chicane between the V8 pit lane and the Formula 1 pit lane. But out in front, it's Will Davison and Fabian Coulthard. Now, they're both on soft tyres, and they'll be sprinting away now and running a reverse pit stop strategy to what we've seen all these leaders do.
Jack Fabs is one of these drivers, Coulthard, that we've had circled all weekend. Started on the hard tyre, worked his way up over the course of the weekend. Typical, really different strategy from Brad Jones Racing, which is what they're really, really good at.
Yeah, and it's going to pay dividend, you know, these last 2 races to have better tyres sitting there as we watch these guys navigate their way out of the pits on cold, soft tyres. So this is a really intense part of being a driver. You've got to try and drive as fast as you can on cold, new tyres, get up to speed and get into rhythm.
D'Alberto around the outside of Caruso. Nice move, return serve from the move we saw a little bit before. Some damage on the front of that 4th Falcon out of the Full Performance Racing stable to customer operation, not pitted in the same garage, a little bit further down pit lane. This is the battle for the lead on the racetrack.
Coulthard's got really good speed too. Fastest first sector, fastest second sector. So surprisingly enough, I didn't think he had the outright car speed to run with Will Davison, but showing very good form. Now, this race is not going to play out until the last lap. These guys will push on, I would imagine, to the last lap, and then they'll pit, and it's good pit stop, get out and see where they meet up.
And it was a really solid start to the championship proper for Fabian Coulthard in this brand new Lockwood operation. Great to see some new sponsors in the sport, but 7th in the championship after the first round at the Clipsal 500. Here's the Irwin car in pit lane. Lee Holdsworth making the move from Holden to Ford in the off-season. Took him around to settle in, boys, at the Clipsal 500, but so far so good. That car's been fast all weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Stone Brothers always front up to the racetrack and put good cars on the circuit, and Lee's just taken a little while to get his head around it, but he's a quality driver, and I expect big things from the Irwin Falcon all year.
Now, the other thing, too, don't forget Fabian Coulthard is probably on a fresher set of softs than what Will Davison would have used his. Fabian was in a position where he could bank 2 sets, so he'll be on basically brand new softs opposed to Will Davison. To give you an idea of lap times, Will Davison 1:57.3, Fabian Coulthard a 1:57.0. But the big problem for Fabian, can he get past?
And that's relevant, Beto, for tomorrow's final race, where the grid will be set by a combined point score from this race and yesterday's second race. So it works very well for Fabian. If he can score well here, it gets him up the grid. Then he can use that second set of softs when we go racing tomorrow and try and get that car.
Correct. Fabian Coulthard tomorrow will look extremely strong because if he gets a good result out of this race, as you said, Richie, he gets another set of softs tomorrow and they'll be very, very fresh.
And that's such a BJR thing, isn't it? Look, average early, but sneak up on the pack as the weekend goes on.
Exactly right. They've got a couple of experienced heads down there that know how the game works, and they're doing a good job here. The problem with Fabian here is he's got a little bit of pace over Will, but he's going to find find it very difficult to pass him, but not only just pass him, but not use up the tyres to try and pass him. So his best position may be to just sit behind Will, unless there's an easy way to get past him without torching those rear tyres.
And I think you'll find, too, the FPR car is probably a little bit stronger in a straight line, so it makes it really, really hard for Fabian to line up a pass, say, at the end of the front straight. You can see as they come past the commentary box, there's a bit of a gap there, and he just stretches his legs down the long straight. There's a little bit more pace on entry and mid-corner, and again, the FPR car will just stretch away a little bit down the straight.
You're a Walkinshaw driver the last couple of years in the Enduros. You're now in a Ford with Stone Brothers Racing this year. The drivers talk about when they cross that divide, Holden to Ford or vice versa, that it takes a while to get to hit in. What is fundamentally different about driving the cars?
Oh, look, they're miles different to drive, but you know, you can't compare jumping out of a Porsche to a Ford or a Falcon. I think sometimes if you've been in a team for a long time like Holdsworth, he's got ways of doing things. It's difficult to come from a car. He's only been in one V8 supercar team with Gary Rogers. 6 or 7 years he did there, so for him it's going to take him a little bit longer to adapt than a guy that sort of jumped backwards and forwards a little bit. But for me, I'll take the Porsche any day.
It's interesting now, we've got the guys who pitted early in the race. So Winterbottom's leading that charge. He's currently 8th on the road, just done the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 56.3. So that's almost a second faster than Fabian Coulthard and Will Davison, who are the leaders of the race. But then there's 2 races within the race at the moment, the guys that have pitted and the guys that haven't.
The big thing's going to be, can Mark Winterbottom keep circulating, not at that lap time on the basis of what he's doing, but is he going to come into traffic? Does he get a car on a hard tyre? You know, it's going to be a tough call for him.
And the guys in the pits have to do a good job too. You know, the guys in front in the Will Davison pit crew, the Fabian Coulthard guys, they need to do a good job in the pit stop, and we won't know where they'll come out until after that pit stop.
2 of the biggest names in the sport going at it. Craig Lowndes works his way past James Courtney. That's for 13th and 14th on the racetrack. But they will be somewhere towards the top 5 when this all shakes itself out. And the 6 cars that have not yet stopped, 7 cars, correction, make their way into pit lane.
And that's a good effort from Craig Lowndes, because you can't forget he started, he had a DNF yesterday, so he started rear of field today. So playing into Craig Lowndes, he loves this sort of race. You know, he's a hungry bloke. He just gets in there and just keeps firing it up the inside of people all day long.
More from Will McCloy.
Yeah, mate, I'm outside SBR, and it's one of those places which, when a non-stacking race, it's very difficult to get the pit stop strategies right. And to give you an idea of how important the pit stops are in this race at this track, Tim Slade came in just behind Lee Holdsworth, and now he's 9 places behind because a mistake in the pit stop probably only cost him about 5 or 6 seconds. But in that rush for pit stops, he's lost 9 spots, and it's quite hard to make up 9 spots about here, as you know, Beto.
Yeah, it's a hard place to make up spots. Someone else that's really fast at the moment, Shane Van Gisbergen, a 1:56.5. Give you an idea, Tander, 56.6. Fastest guy on the circuit, still Mark Winterbottom at a 56.3.
Now, we usually be telling you how many laps there are left. We're working it out on time. The race is scheduled to finish at 4:05 plus 1 lap. It's currently 1 minute past 4 locally here in Melbourne. So 3 to 4 laps maximum left in this motor race.
And it's tough for these guys that haven't pitted to know when to pit, because they want to run around on these soft tyres as long as they can. As we see, Will Davison's pulled a little bit of margin now over Fabian Coulthard. So, look, we're going to expect them in the pits in the next 2 or 3 laps. As we see now, the Lockwood Brad Jones crew are ready for Fabian, so we may see him in this lap.
So if the drivers to have made a pit stop, Mark Winterbottom leads the way, with Garth Tander, Shane Van Gisbergen, who was the fastest car on the racetrack, just in behind. Then Lee Holdsworth and Todd Kelly, with Lowndes and Courtney just in behind. But this is the leader on the racetrack, Will Davison. This man is about to pit, Fabian Coulthard, the young Kiwi who's had a very challenging... Oh, no, not pitting this time
No, I thought it was too early. You cannot afford to go onto the hard tyres and run 2-3 laps on the hard tyres. They can only afford to do the 1 lap on the hard tyre.
A good point, and just interesting to see there in third, Greg Murphy in the Pepsi 51 car. He's doing a pretty good job. Interesting to see where these guys pop out.
Michael Patrizzi,
oh dear,
up the inside.
And rubbing all the way through turn 2.
This is a championship round, is it?
No points, believe it or not. But there is $100,000 for the winner of the weekend. And it's not an individual race thing. It's a combined point situation over the course of the weekend. So you've got to accumulate whilst you're trying to go out and win races. And the person who accumulates the most points over the weekend will get the cash.
Exactly right. Good point. And, you know, it's similar to the way V8 Supercar racing used to be with round results. As we've got car 1, Jamie Whincup and Rick Kelly in the pits here. Looks like a slow a stop in the one car, a bit of a drama with the left rear, which was the problem in yesterday's pit stop.
This has been the most un-888 weekend I think we've seen from 888 for 2 or 3 years. It's been uncharacteristically strange.
Okay, quick race update from race control. 4:04 plus 1 lap, so it will take another lap off, and I reckon that may help Will Davison even more.
Well, they'll have to pit this lap because there's 20 seconds until that 4:04 margin, so they're going to have to pit very, very soon. So they're rolling the dice at Ford Performance Racing and at Brad Jones Racing, and it's either going to work or it's not. It's as simple as that. And these couple of very experienced campaigners may well find themselves with a very strong result. Craig Lowndes especially, as Beto mentioned before, working his way through the field after an engine failure in typical Roland Dane fashion. You tried to pry some info out of him, Jack Perkins. Not a word about what went wrong yesterday.
No, very secretive down there, but interesting to see that Shane Van Gisbergen last lap did the fastest lap of the race, so only a little margin quicker than Mark Winterbottom, but those two guys have been the quickest guys this weekend, Mark Winterbottom and Shane Van Gisbergen, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see where these guys pop out of the pits as Will Davison, Coulthard and Murphy are definitely into the pits now.
Steve Owen, who's the last driver to not stop, also follows them in way down the field. Rick Kelly is lighting up the timing monitor with faster times. There goes Davison.
Next
Good
time across the
stop.
line will be the last lap of the race. We need to be able to see up the pit straight to see where he's going to come out. He's now into the F1 pits, a long run down. As I said yesterday, 40 Ks down the length of this pit straight is a long, long way.
It feels like an absolute
no one
eternity.
coming onto the pit straight. We did say this yesterday.
And Van Gisbergen swept past.
I think he may have done it.
It's looking pretty good. This has been a very, very good stint, and Fabian Coulthard could be the biggest hero of the lot because he qualified a little bit further down the pack. Davison leaves.
Here they come.
There's his teammate, Mark Winterbottom.
No, same as yesterday.
Drag race to turn 1, but Frosty's up to speed. He's going to drive around the outside and assume the race lead, and he's on course for a three-peat this weekend.
And don't forget, Will's just put hard tyres on. Garth Tander, once again, just does storming effort, and he will be on hot, soft tyres, so no way Will's going to hold him out.
They're tough because those hard tyres that Will's just put on, they're cold. They'll take 3 or 4 corners to come up to any workable temperature. No tyre warmers in V8 Supercars, so those tyres are stone cold.
And the difference isn't just through the corner, it's into it, it's out of it, it's just about everywhere, under braking as well, that the soft tyre gives you such an advantage. But Will Davison will fight and hold on because he knows there's not too far to go. But Garth Tander would love to get a result for the Holden Racing team and keep what's been a pretty strong start to their season going on.
Yeah, and this will be the widest trading post Falcon you have ever seen as Garth Tander. A lot of pressure here.
Up on a cold tyre, but
Exactly.
What a great outlap. That is a mega outlap to hold Garth Tander out for half a lap on a cold tyre.
And look at Van Gisbergen, he's in this as well.
Come.
He could be the X factor. He's looking down the inside of Tander on the run to turn 11. Now Tander goes down the inside of Davison and gets it done.
It was a mega effort by Will Davison to do that. It's David versus Goliath in that situation. He did well to keep him behind him for a while.
And this is the last lap, just confirming this is for the podium. Checkered flag next time by. Davison wants more of this. He's still going to fight. He wants another podium. He's been so strong, and he just squeezes Van Gisbergen out.
Yeah, very smart. Right at the apex, just slowed it up. He didn't want the cross, the over-under trick, so he just slowed Van Gisbergen up right at the apex of the corner, and you could see Shane trying to turn down on it and couldn't get back in.
2 pretty smart racers there, and they did a good job not to end up out in the boonies, but Mark Winterbottom done a great job, and he will take what will be a great victory for FPR.
3 in a row for Mark Winterbottom, dominating at Albert Park in 2012. Garth Tander fights his way, as he always does, to second. And another podium for the Trading Post car, as Paul Dumbrell, David Reynolds, still used to the old driver in the green car there, squeezes past James Courtney for 10th place. G'day to PD, who I'm sure is watching at home. What a drive.
I'd say PD will be watching from down the pit lane somewhere, probably at a 888 garage. But there's your race winner, Mark Winterbottom. Garth Tander, really solid job, as I said, to finish second. Good final lap from Will Davison. Hard tyre, holding out Shane Van Gisbergen, Fabian Coulthard. Good solid result from him. Lee Holdsworth finishing in 6th. same position as he started. Craig Lowndes from rear of grid to 7. Todd Kelly, Greg Murphy and David Reynolds rounds out the top 10.
Courtney was 11th. Michael Patrizzi fought his way through to a very good 12th place ahead of Jason Bright, Tony D'Alberto. Stephen Johnson down to Jonathan Webb, who managed to finish 20th. They've had a tough weekend at the Techno Autosports team. Thank you, Jack Perkins. Thank you, Craig Baird. It's been an exciting weekend for the V8 Supercars so far. That was an abbreviated race, but thanks to our friends at Shannon's, you can have a great long weekend in Monaco. We're offering you the chance to win a trip for 2 to the world's most popular Grand Prix, the 2012 Monaco Formula 1 GP. Simply go to shannons.com.au/Monaco. Check out everything included, plus all the details for your chance to win. Back shortly.